I'm John Rodgers from Cuyahoga Falls, and we're going to be talking about Manitoba, polar bears and more, because we're going to look at Winnipeg first, which is the capital, and then we will go up to Churchill, where you will find the polar bears. And hopefully you recognize the flag of Canada, the maple leaf forever. This is based on two trips, 1998 and 2006, and both of them were in October. Very late October into early November is a good time to see the polar bears. Now, Manitoba is the fifth Canadian province. In 1870 it came into being. Its boundary was extended up to Hudson Bay in 1912. The population is a bit over 1 million people. The highest point is only 27 above sea level, 2,727. It's in the central time zone. And we're going to spend most of our time here at Winnipeg, and then we're going to fly up to Churchill up here. And Churchill is right on Hudson Bay, and that's where we will see the polar bears and Arctic fox and so forth. So you'll see some of this countryside as we fly across it, but you have to fly into Churchill because there are no roads. There is a railroad, and we'll talk about that as we get to Churchill, but that railroad carries mostly grain, occasionally some people. Now, we're in Winnipeg, and that is the hotel we stayed, Hotel Fort Garry. Interesting place. But I want to give you a few animals to whet your interest until we get up to Churchill. This is the first polar bear my wife and I had ever seen. Nice guy. You feel like you want to go over there and tickle behind his ears and so forth, but I wouldn't advise it. Now, this is a mother nursing 2 cubs, which is fairly rare. But we're out in a tundra buggy now, and she was there, and she's very rare. And here is an Arctic fox. He's in his winter coat. I'll show you a couple that are not in their winter coat. And here are ptarmigans. This is a little scurrying bird across. He doesn't fly too much. He scurries more. He's just getting out of his summer plumage into the winter, which is all white. And an Arctic hare. Now you'll see the same hare, but you'll see him facing us. But he was a nice guy. And here is a polar bear, and that's what you come up here about. And this is a male, and this is the first, this is the one we saw on our first trip up there, the closest we got to any on our first trip. Okay, we're flying across to get to Winnipeg. And there is the skyline of Winnipeg off in the distance. Winnipeg has over half of Manitoba's population. It's an interesting city. It is the first one in the world to develop the 911 emergency system. It has lots of elm trees, which is unique in North America because most of them were destroyed by the Dutch elm disease. Here's a church with towers, very interesting one. I don't know too much about it, but it's kind of neat. And here is the hotel, Fort Garry. There was a Fort Garry outside of Winnipeg, and that's where this hotel gets its name. We've stayed there twice. Here's the train station. And we went up through there to get to a place called the Forks that we will be at in a little bit. And this is a revolving restaurant and we did eat there and met the rest of the people that were going to be with our small group staying here and then going up to Churchill. Good food too. And then the lair right down, we could walk through passageways over to that restaurant from our hotel. And on the the floor just below the revolving restaurant is this interesting candelabra, I guess you call it a chandelier. Now, on the bus tour, we went by several places. St. Boniface is one, and then the legislative building. We did some walking, but we also had this bus tour. Now, I'm going to show you a lot about this legislative building. That's the overall view from the outside. We will be getting back to the statue in a moment. And inside, well, not quite inside, these are slightly on the fuzzy side, but two beautiful lions. And then a stairway down and two buffalo on either side of it. And here's the dome and a skylight. And then one of the legislative chambers. This is an interesting building, well done. And then back outside, we have the dome, and on top of the dome, the golden boy, representing eternal youth. He's on top. And here's the boy closer. See, he doesn't have any clothes on. And Queen Victoria, I'm going to show you in a moment, she wasn't too pleased with that. But there's the boy. And here is Queen Victoria. This is the one I pointed to in the beginning, sitting out in front of the legislative building. And here's a little more of the detail of the front. Good stuff, really well done. And a whole view again from, I'm out in the street now taking the picture so I would get everything. And closer on in, there is a Sphinx. And I found the building material sort of intriguing, so I took a close-up of it. That's the legislative building at Winnipeg. Winnipeg being the capital of Manitoba province. And here's a park down by the hotel. I didn't take this from our room. I had walked out, and this was one of a sort of a passageway that I took from there. Now, this is somebody else's picture, but I wanted you to see Sir William Stevenson. Sir William Stevenson, he was born in 1896 and died in 1989. This is the man called Intrepid. He was born and he lived in Winnipeg. He was the most famous spy master of World War II. I'm glad he was on our side. He was Ian Fleming's inspiration for creating James Bond. But Fleming, said that Intrepid was the real thing. He was the British intelligence chief, and he served with no pay. He was a master spy. And Winston Churchill said, "This one is dear to my heart." So I wanted you to know that Intrepid was from Winnipeg. Now, I call this little section Things Around Town. This is a totem, and of course we're in totem country. Maybe more totems on out to the Pacific, but some around through here. And then a bear statue. Boy, that's a heavy load those two bears are holding. And then these other temporary bears were a part of a fundraiser. I think it was for a children's hospital or something of that nature. I'm not sure. But there were a number of them around, and they actually sold a lot of them to raise money. And then also in there in Winnipeg is the Leo Mole Sculpture Garden. I have 7 pictures of it, and this is the man blowing the horn. These are out in a little wooded area type. And the bear, the mother and the cub, and the sower of the seed. Some deer, 1 deer, bears, what else? Bears. And then a rolling log contest. And then up by one of the buildings is 2 ladies that I thought were nice. Now, we're going back towards the hotel, and it's we're up. I'm taking this up from by the revolving restaurant now. And I mentioned that it was named from a fort outside of Winnipeg. I didn't say that it was a Hudson Bay fort, and it was. It was a trading fort more than a military fort. Now, from up by the revolving restaurant, the rotating restaurant, some views looking out over Winnipeg. Now this one, that strange thing in the middle, that is a bridge. We'll move in on that. And this is where the rivers come together, and the rivers being the Assiniboine and the Red. And the Red flows down through Minnesota in our country. Winnipeg is Cree for muddy water. And it did look kind of muddy. Now, I mentioned that we went by the railroad depot to get to a place called the Forks. The Forks is a market area. Well, we aren't quite there. I'm still showing a few views of the city, and we'll get to the Forks in a moment. There's the boy up on top of the legislative building. Now we're at the Forks. The Forks area, where all this big marketplace is the site of seasonal meetings of Aboriginal people going back 6,000 years. They've used this area called the Forks, where the rivers come together. It is also where furs were traded in the 1730s, as Frenchmen especially would get furs to bring here. Now, we're going to a museum as soon as we leave the Forks, but a few views inside. A real nice place. It really is well done. And actually, in actual practice, what he did then was take us from there right out to the airport to fly, and we were flying on out. But I'm giving you a few views, and we're going to go to the Manitoba Museum also. Well, we're all at the Manitoba Museum. This is a first-class museum. It really is quite good. Buffalo hunt, stained glass, and they had something that was coming up later on, a polar bear. And then with a seal. Of course, that's what the polar bears eat, seals. That's why they have to have that ice. They have to get out on the ice so they can catch polar bears. This is a caribou scene. I like that one, but then I like this scene with the caribou in it also. And those are painted. And then there is a camp there, and a woman is working on something. And then there is a boat there. I don't know too much about the British Nonsuch, but it was a boat that was sent to Hudson Bay in 1668, and they have a replica of it right in this museum, and you can actually go on board it. And these pictures were taken right there on the replica. Very, very impressive boat. And of course they got a wolf. And then there were going to be 2 more scenes. Now that's done in tile. And this other is sort of as you see it. There's a cat there and other things as well. Now they also took us up to a place called Oak Hammock Marsh, north of Winnipeg. And these next pictures will be from up there. And we're already there, and we are now on foot. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff in the birds. That's the walkway where we went. And this is a haven of migratory waterfowl. And of course, we are a little late for it. It's already getting cool towards the end of October, and the migration has proceeded. Of course, we're a number of latitude degrees north of where we are here in Ohio. But here are some of the birds. Sandpiper, I presume. And then we go back inside the building and see some stuff. Here's a scene of a number of kinds of waterfowl. And here is a glass rendition of the passenger pigeon. The passenger pigeon is extinct, and it used to fly right over where we're taping this today in Wadsworth, and by the billions. There were once 8 billion passenger pigeons, and they are all extinct. There are no more of them. This is another bird that is extinct, and this is the Carolina parakeet. So I was interested in that since I'm from South Carolina. And of course, they were gone, and I never saw a Carolina parakeet. Then in there they have the snow goose, and he's impressive, but I like him more in the sky. And the wood duck, he is a one beautiful bird. And then as you're going outside, there's a hawk hanging just inside. And that was kind of neat. Now we are going now up to Churchill. Now let me show you a map. We're down in here in Winnipeg, and we're going up to Churchill. See, this is Hudson Bay. This is the Iceland Island. I do a show on that. And the ships that come in through the Labrador Sea and up through here and come in this way, and then they stand off here waiting to get the signal to come into Churchill to be loaded with grain. Most of the grain is wheat, but there could be other kinds as well. And you better not go in there after the first part of November, or you will be trapped in the ice before you can get back out. But that saves just umpteen miles for the trip to get some of that wheat to different parts of the world, especially Europe, by doing it that way. So we will look at where they come in to pick that up. Now, on our first trip up there, we flew by way of Thompson on almost due north, and then we changed planes and flew over to Churchill. And I want to show you a little bit about that trip, because the terrain down below is so interesting. So we have already gone up to Thompson and changed, and we're in the second plane now. Now, if you can see it, and I'm not sure you can, it is this is the motor looking down on the terrain, and that motor is a Rolls Royce. So we're in good hands as we move over this kind of land. You can see, how would you build a highway across there? I don't even know how they built the railroad across there. But a railroad does go into Churchill, but no roads go into Churchill. Churchill is about 650 miles north of Winnipeg. And that is what the station, what the terminal looked like when we were first there. They have it brightened up, and I'll show you that towards the end later on. But the population of Churchill is about 1,100. And on the first day of summer, the sun is above the horizon for 18 hours. 18 hours. Now, we are coming into Churchill itself, and we stayed about in here the second time. The first time we stayed down here. There's a trader's table, and we ate there. This is the Eskimo Museum up here, and the post office, and this RCMP is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and they are still called that to this day. And what else do they have in Churchill for a statue? Polar bears. Oh boy. And here's a little church. This little church is we were walking at this time when we passed it. And here, if they do helicopter tours too, and this is the location for that kind of tour. And then you will see these Inuska. I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it. They're stone monuments. And you will see them in several places. There's one in front of the museum, as a matter of fact. And you will also see this, polar bear alert, stop, don't walk in this area. Now, of course, this is the time when the polar bears are in the town. Here's another boat. We run into boats at the strangest places. This is the Enterprise. It's now up on land, and it was built as a fishing trawler in Scotland. And a lot of moves to this spot in Monk Park. And they say they're going to keep it because if school kids are out there, or kids, not necessarily school kids, are out there and they see bear, they can get up in here and the bear can't get to them. So they think they will leave it there. Now, this is a view on down to the grain elevator. See, the second time we were there, we stayed at a place that I'll show you, but it's right on this road. And this is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police headquarters. And then in one of the little cafes where we ate, I found this old poster of a Royal Canadian Mountie. And it was very hard to take, but it looked like it came out pretty good. Then 3 views of the town. Man, we got a town here. Some snow on the ground there too. 3 views of the town. It's an interesting place. There's that trader's table where we ate at least once or twice. And then still in the town, we have the church there, and this little building here is the Eskimo Museum. Now, let me go back. I want to take you back right to here, because with that Eskimo Museum in view, a word about Canada's newest province, Nunavut Territory, our land. It was created in April 1999 out of the eastern part of the Northwest Territory. And about 25,000 residents are in Nunavut, of which about 80% are Inuit, Eskimos, or natives. Now, two views of getting around. I jumped the gun a little bit there, but here's one way, 4 wheels, and another way, snowmobiles. So you can get around all year. 2 more views in town. little different. I didn't just go right up the street on these. Now, 3 views of where we stayed on the second trip. This was the Lazy Bear Lodge, and we ate there. We always ate breakfast there, and then we ate dinner there one night. And we stayed. This is where you ate, and we stayed in this part down here. This timber was all dead, and the guide who runs this and was our tour guide and everything for us, he actually went away from here quite a ways and cut standing dead timber to build this place. Quite a guy. You'll see one picture of him later on. And there's that polar bear alert again. This is towards the end of town. I'm just in front of where we actually stayed, and here it is a little later on, and it's getting serious about getting dark. Now, going out to see these animals, here is one of the buggies, the tundra buggy. Now, you see the person all the way at the back is standing out on a little shelf-like place. I'll show you that in a moment. And where this thing goes, that is a road for the tundra buggy. A road. And then here's the road. He has to go over this water and get up in here, and he goes that way. And that can do it, that tundra buggy. And here is the road. I'm looking right through the front windshield at this point. That one, and there it is, even messier. That's the tour guide that owns that place where we stayed. And here are what our tracks look like in one of these turf buggies. The first time we were up there, we got out so far from any bear that they let us get out. When the bears are there, you are not allowed out of that turf buggy at all. As a matter of fact, that's my wife standing on the little stairway going up in there, and you can see what the back of it looks like. Now, you are permitted, even with bears, to be back there. It's sort of cold if the day is cold, but the bear has an 11-foot reach, and you would be just above that reach. So you better not put your hand out if you are up there and the bears are around. And this is the terrain where that buggy has stopped. 2 people are way out there. This is the northern, well, it's up north in Hudson Bay. That's Hudson Bay all the way in the back. And this is a buggy village. You can actually go there and live out on the tundra for a week, and they will feed you in their little restrooms and so forth that they have to collect. And then they will take you in one of the buggies out to see bears during the day. But sometimes bears come right to the village, and there's a bear, but there it's probably under the kitchen. It's probably smelled something there. And here's that same bear. For some reason or other, he quit what he was doing and came where I could get a picture of him. So that is a nice surprise for the bear, for me. Outside of where you load yourself on those tundra buggies, and anyhow, your group has to have their own lunch and so forth, so that's all arranged ahead of time. But just outside of there is this station, which doesn't look very impressive, but this is a station to deal with the aurora borealis. They're still studying it to understand it, to see what it does and so forth. The northern lights are aurora borealis. Now, I don't have a decent photograph of it, but here's one from a postcard when the lights are flickering. I have seen my best aurora right here in Ohio, and I have seen white auroras up in Churchill, but none quite like this. Now we're going to another thing, a shipwreck. The Ithaca was caught in a very high windstorm in September 1961 while carrying nickel ore, and it's high and dry at low tide. I hope they got the nickel ore off, but they can't get the Ithaca off. It's stuck there. Now I'm going to show you these are bear tracks in the mud. This is the first sign we had that there were bears around. Now on our first trip, we didn't see but a few bears, but I'll show you these fairly fast. That white thing is a bear. That's the first one we saw. And here he is again. And he's fuzzy here because he's moving and we are. And then this is very close to the picture I showed you in the very beginning, that one. And notice the bear. That is good coloration of the bear. He's not pure white. He's got other stuff in him, and his skin is black, and the white is the fur on top of black skin. And then at home, I took one of the pictures and blew it up like this, so that you could really see what this beautiful bear. You can imagine when you see your first polar bear, it's really something. Now we're back in the village, and here's one of those things that I can't pronounce, the stone statues, and the Eskimo village museum. And they have a bear display in there, warning you and so forth. The hand that feeds could get eaten and so forth. Little niceties. And then 3 of the views in the display case. And then we were walking around and we noticed this lady, and she turned out to be Inuit, and she was going into places she's an artist, and she was trying to place her stuff to sell it so that she could earn her living. And we talked to her when she came from one of the places looking unsuccessful, and we asked what she did and so forth, and she showed us a number of things, and we chose this snowy owl. And she had carved it herself, and here is the bottom of it, and her name was Teresa. And in one of those showcases, and I can't tell you precisely where, but she has displays in the museum. And so we thought, boy, so we got this one, and we have it at home and sort of cherish it. Now, a little map. I have a number of things I want to show you. First, that Ithaca wreck is here. Churchill is right in here. Here's that Ithaca wreck out here. Here's the airport, and we go along this road and go about out to here to get the tundra buggies, and just a little beyond there will be that Aurora Borealis station. What we're going to do now, this is the port. Those ships that I told you about would come in here, and this is the port and the big grain elevator. We're going to go out on the end of Cape Mary here, look across at the Prince of Wales Fort, and then go back in. Now we're out on Port Mary, and that's the Prince of Wales Fort across the way. And this is on right where we were, the Mary. And there used to be a little fort here, but now the fort is out across the way. See, we had a fort in here, and that last was the Power of the Magazine, and this is the fort across there, the Prince of Wales Fort, and this is the Churchill River that runs in between. The Churchill River is this is it here. This is one of the finest sources of fresh water for Hudson Bay. And in the summertime, along about June, there will be belugas, whales. The beluga is not a big one. I think it's about 17 feet or something like that. There will be a lot of those whales in this Churchill River. Now, that is somebody else's picture. That's from the air, but I made a slide so you could see what the entire fort looked like. And here's the Churchill River again. And look at a rock. I got rock in view to Hudson Bay. And then here's Hudson Bay itself. Notice the trees there, how the wind has shaped the trees. And then rocky terrain, lots and lots of it. Now we're going back into the town, and we're going to look at the polar bear traps. See, if they have any problems, they will use seal meat, and they'll put these traps in town, and they will trap a polar bear. They will not hurt the polar bears. They know that they want the polar bears, but they don't want renegade ones in town. And that Quonset hut right behind it is what they call the bear jail. This is the one end of it, and here's a warning sign that's on it, polar bear compound. And they will haul them away when they have the money. They will sling them under a helicopter and haul them away to another place where they can proceed without giving the people in Churchill a rough time. Now we're still out by the bear jail, and that is the grain elevator. This is Churchill here. That's the grain elevator over there where the trains come in. Not a very good picture, but you can see a train in the background there, and here are a few cars closer, and you can see it is a grain train. It hauls passengers occasionally with special cars, so you can get up to here without flying, but you have to do it at a certain time. And then here is the grain elevator that all of that grain is going to, and those ships are going to come in to get. The movement of grain is very important here in Churchill.